This episode is brought to you by Brilliant. In 2025, over 1.6 billion road-going vehicles are in operational use globally. From this, it's estimated that around 80,000 of these vehicles are currently driving around with a 10mm socket lodged somewhere in their engine bay. To those in the know, this isn't a surprising fact, but what is interesting is that the average mid-size vehicle can have up to 5,000 fasteners, with roughly 10% of them being removed and reinstalled at some point throughout the vehicle's lifetime. Even more astounding is that if we look beyond the automotive world, it's likely hundreds of billions of fasteners are removed or installed every year. And while fasteners are a topic of immense scope in itself, their staggering numbers in use reveal a fundamental truth. Our civilization depends on our ability to tighten and loosen things, and it all comes down to the elegant, evolving design of a single indispensable tool, the wrench. The history of the wrench is distinctively unlike most other ancient tools. It's a newer invention, with its most important developments happening in a concentrated burst of development during the 1800s and early 1900s, all driven by the demand of the Industrial Revolution. A dedicated tool for turning bolts didn't exist for centuries, largely because it wasn't needed. While screw threads date back to ancient times, the large screw mechanisms in early machines, like 15th century printing presses, used built-in bars and levers for operation. It was only in the 1800s, when machinery required small, mass-produced bolts, that a separate, specialized tool became necessary. A breakthrough moment came in 1835 with the first patented adjustable wrench from inventor Solomon Merrick. Based on early single-sized coach wrenches, some of which date back to the 1790s, Solomon's design allowed a single tool to fit multiple fastener sizes by turning a screw in the handle. This foundational concept kicked off a period of rapid innovation, with other designs soon emerging. In 1857, Ezra Ripley would introduce an adjustable wrench that used a lever action handle, while others, such as Taft and Mason and Archibald Murray, would introduce their own variants based on Merrick's design. Ori Coase of the Coase Wrench Company would introduce his own lever action adjustable wrench a year later, and by 1870, Daniel Stilson would introduce the Stilson wrench, one of the first variants of the modern adjustable plumber's pipe wrench. While the late 1800s saw dozens of patents for competing wrench designs, Merrick's core design would ultimately become the basis for the common monkey wrench, though a patent reference to the name wouldn't appear until 1897. While there is no clear origin to the decades-old term of monkey wrench, it's speculated to have been derived from a popular children's toy called Monkey on a Stick, which shared a similar look. The early 20th century would see an evolution in the usability and versatility of wrench designs. In 1907, Carl Peterson, a Swedish immigrant and the founder of the Crescent Tool Company, would introduce a groundbreaking style of adjustable wrench that was far more compact compared to existing pipe and monkey wrenches. This was accomplished by using a higher quality drop-forged steel alloy, allowing for a thinner head that could access tighter spaces without sacrificing strength. The wrench's adjusting mechanism, a knurled worm screw engaging with precisely machined teeth on the movable jaw, produced a smoother, more reliable, and less prone to slipping grip than its predecessors. This style of wrench caught on so well that its brand name became synonymous with the tool itself. Charles Lindbergh was quoted as saying he carried only gasoline, sandwiches, a bottle of water, and a crescent wrench and pliers on his famous 1927 solo transatlantic flight. It was even adopted by the U.S. Army Air Corps as a standard flight tool. Several attempts at challenging the crescent wrench's popularity were met with little success. One of the more notable competitors was the German tool manufacturer Wera. Founded in 1936 and known for its tool rebel ethos, their Joker self-setting wrench replaces Crescent's worm gear with smooth, parallel jaws that automatically grip using an integrated lever mechanism that clamps securely onto fastener flats as torque is applied. This design also incorporated a mechanical ratchet function in its mouth for rapid work without repositioning the tool. Combined with a very small 30-degree return angle, these wrenches excel in tight spaces, offering a faster and safer alternative to conventional adjustable wrenches. Not long after the increase in popularity of adjustable wrench designs, the first ratcheting wrench designed to be used with interchangeable sockets was patented in 1863 by J.J. Richardson of Woodstock, Vermont. While sockets had been used with hand cranks for centuries, Richardson's design used a mechanism that allowed the user to turn a nut or bolt in one direction and then freely rotate the handle in the opposite direction without removing the tool from the fastener. This design employed a reversible ratchet and a set of sockets with square openings of varying sizes and were exceptionally effective in confined spaces where a full rotation of the handle was impossible. It's important to note that Richardson's socket wrench was designed to work with square-headed fasteners of the time. These early fasteners were far easier to manufacture by hand filing. While J.J. Richardson is officially credited with patenting the first ratcheting socket wrench in 1863, an 1880 U.S. patent court case revealed another inventor, just 16 miles away, had already created a working model years earlier. D.M. Moore of Windsor, Vermont, actually built and openly used his own version of a ratchet wrench in 1859, but Richardson simply beat him to the patent office. By the beginning of the 20th century, the introduction of the ratcheting mechanism to fastener tooling had dramatically changed the industry. At the core of every ratcheting wrench is a toothed gear and at least one pawl. The gear is a fixed part of the square drive that the socket attaches to. The pawl is a small, spring-loaded lever that pivots to engage with the teeth of the gear. When you turn the handle in the desired direction, the angled face of the pawl locks into the corresponding angled tooth of the gear, transferring the force from the handle to the socket and turning the fastener. When you swing the handle in the opposite direction, the spring-loaded pawl simply slides up and over the sloped back of the gear teeth, creating a characteristic clicking sound. Because the pawl isn't engaged in this direction, no rotational force is applied to the fastener, allowing you to rest for the next turn without removing the wrench. A small lever or switch on the back of the ratchet head controls the direction by flipping the pawl to engage with the opposite side of the gear's teeth. Early ratchets had a coarse tooth count on the gear, sometimes as few as 24 teeth. This meant that the handle had to be swung 15 degrees before the pawl would engage the next tooth. This made them difficult to use in tight spaces where movement was restricted. The evolution to modern ratcheting tools primarily focused on a dramatic increase in the tooth count of the main gear. Modern ratchets typically have a tooth count ranging from 72 up to 160 teeth. A higher tooth count results in a smaller swing arc. For example, a 72-tooth ratchet requires only a 5-degree swing to engage the next tooth, while a 160-tooth model needs just 2¼ degrees, allowing for much more effective use in confined areas. To achieve these higher tooth counts without sacrificing strength from using finer teeth, dual pawl systems were developed. Instead of a single pawl engaging the gear, two pawls work in tandem. This design distributes the load across more teeth, increasing the overall torque capacity of the mechanism while still allowing for a fine swing arc. Even though the evolution to a ratcheting mechanism began as early as the 1860s, it wasn't until the 1910s that the switch from a female drive to a male square drive stud would occur, allowing for more flexibility in socket tooling. Square drive sockets were initially held onto drive tools by friction alone, making them prone to falling off. By 1923, Snap-on would introduce a spring-loaded detent ball on their half-inch drive handles, significantly improving usability and safety for mechanics. By 1935, Snap-on had also incorporated ball detents into the pawl switching mechanism of their ratchets. The first quick-release system was pioneered by Black Hawk Manufacturing in the late 1920s as a locking pin system. This innovation predates the modern quick-release ratchet by several decades and established the foundation for securely attaching sockets. It was so revolutionary that Snap-on later licensed the technology from Black Hawk for its own lock socket line of tools. By 1965, the modern quick-release detent mechanism would be introduced by a Sears employee, Peter M. Roberts, who would go on to sell the patent to his employer for just $10,000 for use in the Craftsman tool brand. The quick-release ratchet proved to be an immense commercial success, with millions of units being sold. This disparity in valuation led to a protracted legal battle, with Roberts suing Sears for fraud. Initially, square-headed bolts were the standard, largely because they were simpler to manufacture with the forging techniques of the time. The corresponding wrenches were equally straightforward. However, the geometry of a square head presented significant limitations. A wrench can only engage a square head at 90-degree intervals. In the increasingly cramped confines of industrial machinery and later automobiles, a 90-degree swing proved to be limiting. The hex head fastener emerged as the elegant solution to this problem. With 6 sides, a wrench can engage a hex head every 60 degrees, allowing a fastener to be tightened or loosened in spaces with significantly less clearance around the bolt head. Interestingly, though a hex head offers 13.5% less contact area than a square head, its shape allowed for a superior distribution of force. When a wrench applies torque, the force is concentrated at the corners of the fastener head. A square head presents 4 sharp 90-degree corners to the wrench that are points of high stress concentration. Under significant load, the material at these sharp corners is more likely to yield and deform, a failure known as rounding off. The hex head, by contrast, presents 6 broader 120-degree corners. This wider angle reduces the stress concentration factor significantly and can withstand much higher torque before the material begins to deform. For a given material and size, this geometric advantage means a hex head might successfully handle 1.5 to 2 times the torque of a square head before risking damage to the fastener head. Hex head fasteners can even be manipulated by 12-point tools that offer greater flexibility in engaging the fastener, particularly in confined spaces where a full 60-degree swing might be difficult or impossible, though this comes with a compromise on grip strength and a higher risk of rounding off. Throughout the 20th century, additional application-specific fastener heads were introduced. The Torx head, characterized by its 6-pointed star shape, provided an even more robust solution for torque transfer. Its design virtually eliminates cam out and can withstand extremely high torque. Similarly, internal hex drives and internal 12-point fasteners offer a compact head profile while still allowing for significant torque application, making them ideal for applications with limited clearance or where a flush finish is desired. Despite these developments, the robustness of the hex head fastener still makes it the most popular choice. Its ability to be used in harsh environments that alter its geometry or be coated and still remain usable are incomparable. As the hex head bolt grew in popularity, the open-ended wrench began to be supplemented by the box-end wrench design. Made popular by the Plumb Tool Company in 1926, the 12-point box-end wrench was introduced as a new class of tool for automotive and other mechanical work. These early box wrenches were forged from alloy steels such as molybdenum and later chrome vanadium, which provided a much higher tensile strength than the carbon steel used for earlier tools, and allow for the creation of a wrench with thin-walled, strong heads that could access fasteners in tight spaces. By 1933, Plumb Tool Company would introduce the first combination wrench, which featured a box end on one side and an open end on the other, both of the same size. In 1947, John W. Lang, associated with A&E, filed a patent for a ratcheting box end wrench. The design proved to be successful, and A&E went on to produce this style of wrench for numerous major tool brands. By the mid-1990s, the ratcheting wrench market saw another significant innovation with the introduction of the gear wrench. Developed by the Leeway Hand Tool Corporation in Taiwan and introduced in 1996, the gear wrench featured a fine-tooth ratcheting mechanism that required a much smaller arc to turn fasteners, making it highly effective in tight spaces. As the emerging automotive and aerospace industries progressed during the 1920s, a need developed for a method to address the safety issue created by the inconsistencies in the tension of installed fasteners. The torque wrench was conceived to eliminate this ambiguity by integrating a mechanism that provides a measurable and controllable application of torque. The earliest form, known as the beam-type torque wrench, was popularized by Chrysler and operated on the principle of Hooke's law. A flexible lever arm deflects in direct proportion to the applied torque, with the degree of deflection indicated by a pointer against a calibrated scale. This simple, durable design is still in use but is obtrusive and requires the operator to visually monitor the scale from a direct line of sight. By 1935, the first click-type torque wrench would be introduced. Initially conceived by Conrad Barr, a foreman for the New York Water Department, it would become one of the most popular forms of the torque wrench even today. In a click-type torque wrench, a precisely machined pivot block is held in place by a calibrated spring, the compression of which is adjusted by turning the handle to set the target torque. When the applied rotational force overcomes the spring's preload on the pivot block, The block abruptly breaks away and strikes the inside of the wrench's body, creating a characteristic click that signals the target torque has been achieved. The wrench's head is designed to momentarily release tension upon clicking. In the early 1980s, the British company Crane Electronics launched their Universal Torque Analysis torque wrenches. These were among the first transducer-based wrenches that, when connected to a digital readout, provided an electronic measurement of the applied torque. They work by using a metal shaft called a torsion bar that is fitted with a strain gauge. As torque is applied, the bar twists minutely, changing the electrical resistance of the strain gauge. This change is measured by your microprocessor, which calculates the corresponding torque value and displays it digitally. Although the precision of electronic torque wrenches was a natural fit for the industrial, automotive, and aerospace industries, their widespread adoption was initially limited by high costs. The turning point came in the 2000s as the plummeting prices for embedded computer systems finally made this advanced technology accessible to the general public. The introduction of the assembly line drove the demand for power tooling that was both powerful and fast. Compressed air was seen as a perfect solution as pneumatic tools like rock drills and hammers have been in service for decades already. Initially, wrenches were adopted to pneumatic drill air motors, but they lacked torque, though these would evolve into pneumatic and electric ratchets for light-duty use. By 1935, a viable solution emerged as the impact tool. Invented by Robert H. Pott of Evansville, Indiana, it was designed to work with either an air or electric motor based on a hammer mechanism. The hammer is effectively a rotating mass with a cam-like surface that is connected to the output shaft that drives the socket. Initially, when a bolt is loose, the hammer and shaft simply spin together, applying continuous rotational force to quickly tighten the fastener. However, the impact action begins the moment the bolt becomes tight and the output shaft stalls against the resistance. At this point, the hammer disengages, with its cam surfaces riding up against a stationary anvil feature on the shaft, causing it to retract axially and compress an internal spring. This brief disconnection allows the hammer to wind up, rapidly accelerating, then forcefully slamming back into the anvil on the shaft, creating a high torque impulse. This entire cycle of wind-up, slam, and turn happens many times per second, creating the tool's signature hammering sound and immense turning force. By 1939, the Chicago Pneumatic Tool Company brought this invention to the forefront of industry with the world's first pneumatic and electric impact wrench. While pneumatic tools dominated the heavy-duty market, the mid-20th century saw the rise of electric power tools. Because the hammer impact mechanism works with any rotational drive, Chicago Pneumatic also produced an electric version of the impact wrench, though all early electric impact wrenches were all corded and limited by the motor's size and capacity. The evolution to battery-powered tools started in 1961 when Black & Decker introduced the world's first cordless power drill powered by a nickel-cadmium battery. Just 4 years later, NASA commissioned the creation of a battery-operated impact wrench for the Gemini space program. However, widespread adoption of cordless wrenches were intrinsically linked to advancements in battery technology. The move from heavy and memory-prone NiCad batteries to more powerful and longer-lasting nickel metal hydride, and subsequently lighter and more energy-dense lithium-ion batteries in the late 20th and early 21st centuries was pivotal. Each new battery generation brought increased power, longer runtimes, and reduced weight, making cordless electric wrenches a viable and often preferred option for a growing range of applications. The world of wrenches extends even further, encompassing specialized tools like hydraulic wrenches, designed for immense torquing power in heavy industrial applications, or even highly specific tools for delicate scientific instruments. Despite these advancements in niche applications, the core principle of leverage and controlled rotation remains unchanged. It is this fundamental elegance, coupled with continuous refinement, that ensures the wrench, in all of its forms, will likely remain an indispensable tool for centuries to come. The evolution of the wrench is a perfect example of elegant problem solving, applying core scientific principles to make a physical task easier. This ability to see the physics at play in the world around you is the key to innovation. If you want to sharpen your own problem solving skills by mastering the foundational concepts of mechanics and beyond, you should check out Brilliant. For me, Brilliant reignited the joy of discovery. It offers a deep library of courses in math, data science, programming, and AI, but its real magic lies in how it turns learning into a hands-on adventure. It's all about building real-world problem-solving skills by actively engaging with fascinating concepts. Brilliant's entire philosophy is built on a first principles approach. Forget passively watching lectures. Here, you learn by doing. You're constantly solving puzzles and experimenting with ideas, which is a method proven to be 6 times more effective for retention. I also love knowing the lessons are crafted by leading minds from places like MIT, Caltech, and Google, who know how to make challenging topics feel intuitive. From the moment you start, Brilliant guides you through active problem solving. It's based on the idea that real understanding comes from experiencing a concept, not just memorizing it. By working through these challenges, you build a genuine knowledge base and sharpen the critical thinking skills that make you a better thinker all around. Brilliant is also effortless to integrate into your day. During a commute or a coffee break, I can jump into a quick lesson and actually learn something new instead of just scrolling. It's the first learning habit that has truly stuck with me. A great place to jump in is Brilliant's scientific thinking courses. It's a deep dive into the core physical principle that our industrialized world runs on. You will learn through hands-on challenges and make mechanical concepts feel both intuitive and genuinely practical. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/newmind or click on the link in the description below. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.